Good evening, everyone. We are back with another review for the Best Animated Feature nominees. We've covered today we'll be covering 4 of the 5. We've got one more after this, which we'll be talking about on Sunday. That's going to be Flow. Today, in case you couldn't see the title underneath us, we're talking about Memoir of a Snail, which I had never heard of this film until I read through the list of nominees. This is an adult stop-motion animated film, also called like a tragic comedy. It's like a lot of dark humor in there. As you kind of mentioned, a little bit depressing, a little bit, but also with a pang of bittersweet. And I think that's down to the director. So the plot of this thing, it's loosely inspired on the director, Adam Elliot's own life story, and it follows the trials and tribulations in the life of a lonely misfit called Grace Puddle from childhood to adulthood. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much behind the scenes context on this one, to be honest with you. It was part of the list, and we had no real order to the order that we've reviewed these films in. I think I just said to you, like, which one are you feeling this week? And you were just like, we'll do that one. So, Memoir of a Snail. Did you know anything about this one before going into it? I went into it completely cold.
Not at all. I thought it was a kids' movie, and then
how long did it take?
5 minutes in, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like either I'm hearing it wrong, what's happening, or like I was like, this isn't a kids movie. And then more went on. I went, I don't think this is a kids movie anymore.
No, absolutely not.
And that was the bit that intrigued me the most. It was that was the bit that intrigued me the most because it was interesting. It was weird, and I was like, I kind of like this. But I do feel like everything dragged. It was the pacing I wasn't a big fan of. I like the aesthetic. I like the look of the characters. I love the designs. I thought the narration was spot on for the tone of voice. But this is where the pacing really, really, really let it down because the narration was such a dull kind of monotonal, and it worked for the setting. It did, and it worked perfectly, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. But it was an hour and a half. And it went on, and there's only so much you can listen to of that before you go, okay, let's have a bit of a change of pace. And yeah, that was just one of the things. It's like at the beginning where, like, obviously, you know, the dad's an alcoholic, the dad, you know, dies near the beginning. And it's like that happened a lot later on than I thought it should. I thought there was a lot of filler in between that. And it was nice, but I don't know. I had this weird idea when I watched it of if there were little segments like, you know, the dad's an alcoholic and then they go to a foster home and then this, and if they had in little segments, but they were told in like a monotonal poetry kind of way by the narrator, that would have had really good pacing. They would have been little bits and you'd be like, okay, that's quite cool. I like that. Then there's this bit, but yeah, the pacing was just all off for me. It kind of let it down.
I guess it could have been like trimmed down maybe by like 10 minutes or so, maybe like rounding it off to like an 80-minute movie or something like that. I must admit, I never really felt like it dragged. Personally, I was completely taken in by the story. I thought it was a really charming little movie. I do like films like this that have that sort of pang of dark humor to it, or a little bit of moodiness to it, a little bit of depressiveness to it, I guess you could say. Because I think by the end of it, the character journey that Grace Puddle goes on, it's a really nice story, I thought. Now, when I was watching it, I thought that this was an autobiographical film, completely autobiographical. Of course, it isn't. And if you read about sort of Adam Elliot's past, there's little bits of it that you can see that he's taken from it. He's usually based stuff like on his own life or his friend's life, and he works certain threads of that into his movies. So when I read about this afterwards and I was like, a lot of this is made up from whole cloth, I was like, I thought it was actually like a more or less, you know, one-for-one telling of someone's story. But I thought it was a very personal story nonetheless, and I really like the message that this movie has at the very end. This is sort of like an introvert's best film ever, and I think it's very easy to sort of, and I'm guilty of this as well, I was kind of taking lessons from this film as well, that it's very easy to get swept up into your shell, as they call it, like a snail shell, and be very isolated and things like that. But you've got to break out of it sometimes, and it's very easy to get comfortable and stay in like certain.
Do you?
I've got better. I was very introverted throughout my 20s.
Do you have to? Where does that make the world a better place?
Yeah.
It makes it better inside your own head, and that's it.
I guess if it becomes self-destructive, but it's all about balance, isn't it? I suppose I got that from Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid, and it's some good
It's
lessons.
also self-destructive if you end up socializing with the wrong people all the time.
Yes,
That's self-destructive. So
that's a very, very good point there.
You
also you mentioned that you were kind of taken aback by this, that it was an R-rated film. This is apparently
I didn't expect it. That was the brilliance, and I think that was my favorite part because I went in so blind, being like, "What is this?" It was similar to Cabin in the Woods when I saw that. I had no idea what to expect.
Same.
I was literally, me and this girl went out, and we went to the cinema, and it was just like we were literally just chilling, doing whatever. We're like, "Oh, let's go see a movie," and we saw Cabin in the Woods. Saw this cabin. It looked dark and it looked scary. We went, "Oh, let's go see a movie." And then it slowly just became something I was like, I didn't really expect this at all. And it was kind of that moment where I thought, it's going to be a kid's movie. It's going to be about Snail. And I was like, what? And it was just, that was the brilliant thing about it. I think it's because it's so weird and it has that kind of aesthetic. I think that is great. And I did love the aesthetic. And I think it does help going in with that whole, like, just have no idea what you're watching. And I think that really, really added to it.
Yeah, so this is the second R-rated animated film to ever be nominated for an Academy Award, according to this. The first of which was Anomalisa, which came out, 10 years ago. I reviewed that film, I believe, on a channel that shall not be named. I really love that film. That is a very, very fucking nihilistic and depressing movie. Charlie Kaufman directed it. Need I say more? He's one of the most depressive directors ever. Comes up with some really good ideas for his films, but my God, you have to be in a certain headspace to watch a film like that. And this is kind of no exception, but there's a little bit more optimism for this by the end, by the time you get on the whole journey of it. You mentioned the look of this film as well. I love the aesthetic. I love the design of the characters and the world that we find ourselves in. They're very caricature-like, and I like how everything's sort of like larger than life and they all have a very unique look to it. It reminded me actually of something like Tim Burton would make from Corpse Bride. I know you hate that film, but the look of the characters.
First thing that came into my head. I was like, it has that kind of I love the look of Corpse Bride. I did not like the movie, but I love the look. It's like Nightmare Before Christmas. I love the look. I love but just shit movie.
Yeah. And well, no, I wouldn't say it's a shit movie. I think it's fine.
Do you know what? When I was putting away all my Disney DVDs years ago, and I found out that wasn't even in the case, I went, "Thank fuck for that," and threw it out. Didn't like it.
But yeah, the look of this film does sort of have a typical Tim Burton-y vibe to it. You've got the desaturated or sepia kind of look to it, the exaggerated look to the characters, the sort of melancholy, mundane tone to it a little bit, but there's a little pang of humor to it and sort of rising above all of the melancholy of life. And speaking of melancholy, and speaking of Tim Burton, there was a book that Tim Burton did, a little kid's book called The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories. And it's all of Tim Burton's artwork. And the likenesses are very, very similar. I actually found out another film that the director did. I didn't make this connection before, and I actually wasn't aware that this was the same director. But there was a stop-motion animated film, very similar kind of aesthetic and similar tone, that came out in 2009 called Mary and Max, which I have seen before. I think I was... God, this was ages ago now. I think I was trawling through a list of best films ever made or highly rated films that no one's ever seen. I think I was just looking for something to watch at the end of the day. And I kept seeing Mary and Max pop up, this animated film. I thought, right, I'll give it a go. And that's a story about two pen pals, someone from Australia, an Australian girl, and this guy who lives in, I think it's New York City, who's got Asperger's syndrome. And it's just them sort of forming this connection via letters and sort of going through their life. And I remember having it quite like a big impact on me when I first watched it. I really enjoyed it, but I must admit it's not one that I've gone back to after that. But this sort of falls in the same ballpark as this one. This one did actually hold my attention, as I mentioned. I think when I was watching Inside Out 2, I'm a child of the modern generation, I'm afraid. So I was probably like on my phone and I was like glancing up occasionally at Inside Out 2. That didn't really hold my attention. This one did. I was completely taken in by the story. I really enjoyed the characters, and I wanted to see how these characters rose above it through all of their trials and tribulations. And for that, I think the film was a success. I was kind of in it. Would this be a film that I'd rush back and instantly watch again? Probably not, but I'm glad I've taken in this story, and I thought it was quite a charming little film, really.
Yeah, I kind of didn't fall into that. I had moments where I was kind of like, okay, but they came in bursts, and the bursts got shorter and shorter. So, like, I started with the Hulk. I was like, okay, cool, and I like the look, and I was like, I like how this looks weird, and this is pretty like. You expect the characters' heads just spin around and turn into cockroaches, and then they explode and do like you don't know. And it just, I was like, okay, this could be really, really cool. It's like when you watch the episode of Family Guy, and Brian eats the mushrooms and goes on this weird trip, and then you see like the heads like turn different shapes and swirl. Like you'd expect that weird things to happen. I was like, this is kind of cool. And then, like I say, it dragged for a while, and there was stuff that happened which I don't really remember before their dad died, because it went on a bit, and then the dad died, and he was an alcoholic. I was like, okay, cool. And then I was back captivated, and then the dad died. I was like, okay, cool. And then these little bits dragged again, and I kind of just was staring at a screen, and then I was then back in and then out, and it just, yeah, that's what it was for me. It was weird. I don't, yeah, it was odd. It was an odd one. It was kind of like it feels like it could be like a series of unfortunate events kind of thing.
Yeah, I was also thinking of I mentioned Tim Burton. You've mentioned that, but do you remember Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids?
Yeah,
that kids show. You had like the stop motion guy who tells the stories, a little bit like that.
Yeah, kind of weird. I mean, I don't think there's anything about it that I think, well, you did this, so this is wrong and it's bad. I just think the pacing was just not for me. But I wouldn't change the narration because it fit perfectly. It fit the style. Yeah. I wouldn't change the designs. The designs were great. I wouldn't really change much of it at all. But there's only so much of that dreary voice narrating a movie that you can kind of go before it's like, okay, let's pick up some speed now, you know?
Yeah, and just over 90 minutes was probably pushing it. Yeah.
It's it's like when someone plays a guitar solo, even on like a slow song, and like they've got this like nice melody going, and then they've always got to do their little fast lick. You know what I mean? In there's always like, you know, you'd be like thinking, oh, let's learn this guitar solo, and then you're like, for fuck's sake, they always have to do something that you know what I mean? But the thing is, it keeps it alive and does that, and it just felt like this didn't have that little, you know, fun little bit. It just always kind of, yeah, 90 minutes was a bit long.
That's fair. Come back to that in just a second. I want to read some of these comments. We've got Bath Time who says, "Big up, lads. I imagine this is a film about crazy Frenchmen hunting them down." There are French people in it. We'll say that. And of course, lots of snails. So many snails. Bath Time says, "Dale, of course you randomly take a girl to watch Cabin in the Woods."
Hey, we didn't know what else to do that day.
It's a good film. I thought it was excellent.
It was fun.
Yeah. So similar to you with Cabin in the Woods with that, I'd seen the trailer, and I'd heard that there was a massive twist in the film. And every time I watched a review, I'd close it off. So I was aware that something was about to happen. I wasn't prepared for anything. From the opening scene, I wasn't prepared for anything in that film, and it was great.
This is why, I mean, that was great. And so was this, going into it blind. I mean, I know obviously I've had said a lot of negative things, but it was great going in blind. That really added to it. That's why now, anything, games, movies, as soon as I think I'm going to watch that or I'm going to play that, I don't watch any more trailers, because I'm like, I want to go in as blind as I can. So it might even be the case where like, you know, the poster looks really cool, and I'm like, right, I'm going to watch that. And I don't even go near a trailer, because I want to go in as blind as I can. Or, you know, like a video game, like, do you know what I mean? And I remember I kind of did that years and years ago, where when Simpsons movie came out, I tried to do that with, obviously it was The Simpsons, and I was like, I'm going to watch The Simpsons movie. Didn't look at any trailers, because I thought, well, I just want to, you know, be as surprised as I can. I really think that is the best way to experience a product. I don't know, because I know people love watching trailers, and I know it gets you hyped for it. And I get that. And some trailers, it's hard to stay away from. I know when Kingdom Hearts 4 is a trailer, I'm going to be, I don't care, I'm watching it. Like, but it really adds to it. I think the less you know about something, because you get surprised by every single angle. And this was one of those things I would recommend to anyone if going to watch it. Just literally don't look at anything to do with it. Just watch it blind, because it really adds to it.
I think the age we're in now, you get so many trailers released for the same film, plus TV spots, plus special international trailer where there was some extra little scenes in this trailer compared to this one and whatnot.
Yeah, I have to like not go on social media at all. As soon as there's something coming out that I'm like, right, I'm hyped for that, I cannot go on social media up until it comes out, like at all. I remember when Final Fantasy VII was coming out, and like, well, the remake. Soon as that was announced, I was like, right, no social media at all, because I don't want even the slightest thing. I know it was a remake, and I knew what was going to happen, but I did not want. You know what I mean? I was like, nah, cannot go near it. I deleted my YouTube history, so the algorithm was gone. It didn't recommend anything, because I knew what would come up would be something like, we recommend this when this person dies. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if there's a new show out now, a new game, and I don't really get a chance to game all that much now anyway, but I think the last big game that came out where I was like, I've been invested in this story, in this franchise since the first game, and I don't want anything spoiled for me, was probably God of War Ragnarok. I bought that on day one, and I tried to at least complete the story, and I did within just a couple of days. And those are like those marathon game sessions where you don't eat, you don't drink, you're in, and you're powering through that story to try and get there and get through to the end. And I did. I didn't do the side quests and I didn't do the DLC, but I've stayed away from spoilers from that somehow.
I had the last Final Fantasy game that came out. I booked like a week off work and I was playing it every day. I went through, collected every single thing. And I kid you not, the Monday that I went back to work, I was booked off the whole week. It was Sunday night, I was playing it. And I knew I didn't have loads left to go. I was like, I'm going to power through. And as soon as I finish, that's when I'm going to bed. Kid you not, finished it and was like, okay, I got to be up for work in 10 minutes. That was great. I was like, well, I got it pretty much to a T there. So might as well go now.
I remember the first time that I played Arkham Asylum, and I got that on day one as well. And my God, that playing Arkham Asylum, Arkham City was better and more refined, but Arkham Asylum, I hadn't played a single game like that before. And of course, people know, I'm such a huge Batman fan and animated series fan. It was like a dream come true. And in one sitting, I got because I didn't know how long the game was. So I played from the beginning and I just beat Poison Ivy in one sitting. And then I turned it off and I thought, well, God, I've been playing for like however many hours. I'll play the rest tomorrow. Popped it in the next day. And it's literally like the Joker boss battle at the end. And I was like, oh, fuck, I could have completed it in one day. But and then obviously I had to collect everything after that. But yeah, those were good times.
Well, this is the thing. I do think there are, obviously it's great to go in blind with a lot of things. And I think that is probably the best way to experience pretty much anything. But there are some things like this movie where it really adds to it. Like the less you know about this, the better. Because I think the more if I knew more about this, I'd know everything I was expecting. I would just sit there and it would be quite dull. But it was quite surprising, and it was nice to see that style of anime. I'd never even looked at even the style before I turned it on.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see, and I was like, okay, this is not what I expected at all. So yeah, it was an unexpected kind of movie, which it delivered what it needed to. It just it was a bit long.
Yeah, and I mean, other times I kick off at the Oscars for there's stuff, and my God, there's so much this year that's just complete Oscar fodder and stuff that's appealing to agendas. And honestly, that's the reason why I've boycotted the Oscars this year, at least in terms of the Best Picture nominees, because some of them are just an absolute travesty and should absolutely not have been nominated, but they have for reasons. But sometimes it makes you, well, other times when I've had to watch them out of obligation to like review them for the channel, it does kind of push you out your comfort zone of films that you'd usually watch. And sometimes, not all the times, but you will come across a bit of a hidden gem. And one thing that I like the Oscars for, specifically for the animation category, is that you often get films like that. They either don't get a wide release over here. I would never have heard about this film, probably, unless I saw it in the Oscars, and of course we've watched it for this. Same with Flow. I've never heard of that. So a lot of these films either don't get a wide international release, some are more indie films or in like film festival circuits or whatnot, and some are really good, and some really genuinely stay with you. And whilst this isn't the greatest film I've ever seen, it's not the best animated film I've seen in my whole life, but I don't know. There was something about that has, like, after I've watched the film, I've still been thinking about it. I've still been thinking
nice
fondly
break,
of,
though, isn't it?
Yeah.
From the traditional kind of thing that you see. It was a nice, difference, really. And I think that was, I think that's what was nice about it. It was that change of pace.
Yeah, and I really like the supporting characters in this as well throughout the story and how quirky some of them are. And as I said, it's very caricature-like throughout. For example, you've got the brother and sister, or the twins, aren't they, of Grace and Gilbert, and they're both looking out for each other. And typically, as most twins go, it's almost like they're one unit. They're sort of like one entity, one being. And
there are twins out there that are literally one unit. They are basically a woman with two heads.
Yes, that exists. That does exist.
I wonder how the plumbing works. I really do.
Of course you do. Of course that'd be your first thought.
I think that's anyone's first thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they married to two separate people?
They are.
How does that work?
Exactly. See, I'm not the only one thinking about it.
Like, so many questions.
Hey, I'd do it just for the sheer fact of being like a bang girl with two heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would.
I mean, that feels like that would be a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Exactly, you'd do it.
Trophy unlocked,
Yeah, if you were there at a bar and you saw a girl with two heads, you'd be like, I'm doing it, I don't care. Let's go.
Because you'd wonder if the thing matches the...
Yeah. What if there's two?
Exactly.
Like, I have so many questions.
Do you remember, like, Jim Carrey's Riddler at the end of Batman Forever, where he goes insane and he's like, too many questions, and he's like withered in the chair?
But it's the thing. What, like, technically, shouldn't you, like, if that was me, if I was that thing and I existed and there was like two heads, I would make one head would be like the evil head and one head would be the good head. That's what you would do.
How would you control that, though? You have two separate thought processes,
like I'd like talk to the other one and be like, right, I'm gonna be the good head tonight, you be the bad head, and we'd like switch places. Or you go on a date with someone and you'd have one head literally fucking being a complete cunt to them, and then the other one just being the loveliest person ever, that they like, the best person in the whole world, and your date would be sat there just like, I'm so torn, I'm so conflicted, what do I do here? And it would be great. I would have so much fun if that was me.
Because she just thought she was getting involved with someone with two heads. She didn't realize that these two heads, one would be evil and one would be happy, right? But it keeps you on your toes. You don't know. It's like the Prestige. You don't know which one you're going to get in that day.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could beat up your missus and be like, sorry, it was the other head.
Oh my God. How did we get onto this?
I don't know, but it's a weird movie, so we talk about weird things.
Guys, help me out here. This is what I have to put up with on a daily basis right here. So if you had two heads right now, would I have to have... I feel like I'd have to have two of these screens for you. So there'd be three screens, right?
Yeah.
You could split it down the middle.
You do it as like, you'd be over here and you wouldn't see the other head, and then every now and then, like, it would shout things, and then I'd shout back at it, and you think, what are you shouting at? That would be cool. You could do that. You could do so many cool things with two heads.
Uh-huh. I'm sure you could. I love the people in the comments are probably thinking, like, what the fuck is happening? Let's just go through some of these comments. Bath Time says, I only watch trailers for games to check out how poorly optimized they are now. And Bath Time also says, if I'm correct, I'm probably not, the entire advertising campaign around The Matrix was simply, what is The Matrix? And it gave fuck all away. Yeah, some of those earlier films, they'd have really great teaser trailers. I remember Terminator 2 had a fantastic teaser trailer where it was like all the T-800s being made on an assembly line. That was it. And you're like...
That's the thing.
Yes.
But, like, you know, the thing about trailers is, because trailers they're a thing. You know, trailers are just like, they're just a thing. Every movie has a trailer, and, you know, every movie has like, pretty much like that set kind of, it has a teaser trailer. Then it has like trailer 1, trailer 2, like, you know. So now it's kind of like the they don't all give away loads, but to get the widest reach, I think they have to give away a certain amount, because they're like, well, people aren't going to watch it if they don't know what's going on and all that sort of stuff. So trailer campaigns are just they kind of. I mean, I don't watch a lot of trailers anymore, so it would be unfair for me to say they're kind of shit now. But I do think they have gone downhill because I think they probably give away a lot more than they used to, because there's that aspect of, right, we need to give away X amount because we need people to know what they're getting into and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to do a lot of trailer reactions, and yeah, it just hit a point where unless it's something cataclysmic that I want to talk about, I will still do a trailer reaction. But every now and then I'll just check the trailer out. And usually if I'm on board with it after the first trailer, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to see trailer 2, official final trailer. I don't need to see all of those now. And to Carl's point here, he says, I've started avoiding trailers. Trailers have gotten to the point where they show the whole film and there's no surprises anymore. I think it was Amazing Spider-Man 2. That shit had like 5 trailers. And legitimately, if you took all the pieces out and edited them together, you probably had about 10 or 15 minutes worth of the movie just in shots alone. That trailering, it actually had the final shot of the film in the main trailer as well, which was absolutely mad to me. Bad Time says, I'm very disappointed with the new God of Wars because there's very few moments of Kratos just screaming, Zeus! Which was by far the best part. Yeah, he used to scream every single god's name. Just like Ares, Athena, and yeah, he's not.
I wasn't too impressed with God of War.
He's not as shouty anymore. He's kind of chilled out a little bit, and you know, some may say that's subversive. I guess it's character growth, it's character development. I think it's done fairly well. There's some elements that I don't like to the new God of War games, but I think for the most part the story's pretty good. We have Mythic Dawn who says Happy Halloween. Is it the best day of the year already? In February?
I mean, maybe we're on another planet.
Could be. Carl says, I want to get all the achievements in the Batman games, but just can't do the combat challenges. So I platinumed Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, but then they did some DLC for Arkham City, which was like Nightwing challenges and Catwoman challenges and this challenges and that. And they added more trophies to it. So it said I had platinum, but you know, when it goes from 100% platinum to like 80% platinum, and it's like, that's not right, you fuckers. I had 100% on it.
My Stellar Blade one, I've got one more trophy to get. That just, all I need to do is complete the game again. Like, it's very, very easy. But I know that I need to do that soon, because as soon as they release DLC, I'll get the platinum and I won't be at 100%, and I'll be like, that's really annoying.
Yeah.
Like, I'll obviously get the DLC ones as well, but that's not the point. The point is I have the platinum. I should be 100%. Really bugs me.
Bath Time says, decent actors Jamie Campbell Bower and Eddie Marsan have joined the cast for The Lord of the Rings of Power. For the series' upcoming 3rd season. Oh, joy of joys. I'm sure they'll do them justice. I don't know. I think with the time jump, I have a feel, and with things changing in Hollywood, I think they might try and soft reboot it a little bit with the 3rd season. I don't think they're going to stick the landing with it. And I hope they just kind of double down on all the horrific shit that we've seen so far. Because it's funny. It's funny to talk about. It's fun to hate watch that show. Carl says, that's why I love the Cineworld Unlimited card. I normally watch around 4 films at the cinema on a Sunday. Oh, wow. And it's helped me watch films that I'd never normally watch that I've loved. I miss days like that, man. There were days where I think actually around when COVID was lifted and the cinemas started opening again, they started putting a lot of old films in the cinema that I'd never seen before. Films that I'd seen before, but I'd just never seen on the big screen. And I think I did a 3-in-1. I think it was Back to the Future. And I think I watched that around sort of like 11 till 1. A couple of hours later, they had Pulp Fiction on. So I went to see that. And then right after that, it was Empire Strikes Back. That was a good day. That was a good day of watching movies. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I went to the cinema. Like, not really. Not properly.
The Wild Robot.
No, it was Nosferatu was the last film I went to see at the cinema. I did have some other films booked, some like anniversary screenings, but things always got in the way, or I had too much practice to do, so I had to cancel my booking. But yeah, I think it was Nosferatu. I did have Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon booked, which I would have loved to have seen actually, and then I had Pretty Woman booked, which I've never seen. And I thought, right, it's on at the big screen. I'll finally get to watch it. And then I got busy and something came up. I had to delete both of those bookings. So, yeah, Christmas-ish, or no, New Year's. I think it was like January the 2nd. I went to see Nosferatu. That was the last time I went, and I used to go multiple times a week. So I need to get some good movies coming out. I need some good movies in my life. We've got Hayne who says, "Good day, everyone. Good day, or good night, or good evening,
Hayne.
wherever you're watching this from."
I recognise Hayne.
You recognise Hayne?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hello, Hayne.
We're going to leave it at that.
Okay, we will leave it at that. Let's bring it back to the film then, real quick. So, I mean, this is in the best animated feature category. Let's talk the animation then. Stop motion animation. What did you?
It was great.
Think?
It was brilliant. I don't fault the animation at all. There's not a single bit that I thought, that's a bit. I thought it was brilliant. It hit the tone perfectly. It looked great. It was creepy. It was weird. It was exactly how I imagine an animated Human Centipede movie. It was weird and creepy and uncomfortable, and that was great. And that's what it meant to be. I think it did a 10 out of 10 job on that.
Yeah, I really like the animation style to this as well. I liked the opening, how it panned over all of the Snail memorabilia.
With the fucking music. The fucking Lloyd's TV, the Lloyd's card fucking bank advert with the train, and it had the thing. Yeah. It had the thing.
That song, yeah.
And if anyone tells me that's not the same, then you're fucking wrong. It's the same thing. It was brilliant. I was sat there for ages going, I know that. That's literally the first 5 to 10 minutes of that movie was me sitting there going, why do I know this? I know this. This is the thing. And I was on YouTube, like, train advert. No, it's not a train. Oh, what is it? Bank advert. It took me a while, but I got there and I was like, it's that. And I was so happy.
Yeah, no, and then that took us down a rabbit hole of nostalgia for old TV adverts, which was great. But yeah, this film, I really enjoyed the animation style. I thought it was quirky, it was different. I've always had an affinity for stop motion animation as well, and this is actually the second stop motion animated film that's been nominated this year, which is nice. It's nice to show that art form's still going, even if traditional hand-drawn animation has kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit. Hopefully it has its return someday, but stop motion seems like it's still going strong every now and then, turning out some really good films. I liked the look of the character, and I think this kind of gothic-y look, and again, this could be coming from my love of stuff like Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, whatever it happens to be, that sort of gothic-y, sort of like offbeat kind of look to things, the aesthetic, I think lends itself really well to stop motion animation and can add to the sort of uncanny valley or the creep factor a little bit. As I say, like Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids as well had that stop motion animated quality to it. And there's some really wacky, colourful supporting characters in this film with all the trials and tribulations that they go through. Once the siblings get separated, I don't want to go too much into it because I think it's a film that everyone should check out. I don't think this film's like a tour de force or anything like that, but I do think it's a nice, sweet story that is worth a watch. If you fancy something a little bit different, you like stop motion, give it a whirl. I think it's a nice little positive story to it. You've got like a family of swingers in there. You've got religious fundamentals. You've got like a kooky, sweet old lady in there called Pinky. I think her name was Pinky, wasn't it? This has like a crazy cast to it. Like crazy stuff happens in this film.
What were the people's names? The one of the foster families. What were their names? Like Stacy, Tracy, fucking someone, and they all rhymed. And then there was Ben.
Oh, it was the Applebys, wasn't it? The religious family.
Yeah, whatever their first names were, but they all rhymed. Like, as I say, Stacy, Tracy, but like, I can't remember, but there was like 4 of them, and then you just had Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just fun little things like that were just like, yeah, that's funny. Which was cool.
And I do like how there's a sort of, well, I say meta quality to it, but this is probably the autobiographical part to it from the director, how the main character, Grace, one of her ambitions in life is to get into stop motion animation and make her own stop motion animated film. So I like how that was integrated into the film as well. There's certain things relating to their father, which is kind of tying into Adam Elliot's past as well. There's the elements of homosexuality, which are throughout the film as well, which again relate to Adam. Probably aspects of his life and maybe prejudices that he had to go through growing up and whatnot. So there's like he's cherry picked little bits from his life and from his friend's life and sort of compiled it all into this. And I don't know, this film really worked for me. I thought it was really charming. As I say, I'm still kind of mulling over the film a little bit. I'm still thinking fondly on it. Now, this ain't gonna win. This ain't gonna win Best Animated Feature, but as I mentioned, it's nice that the Academy Awards occasionally give you moments like that where it will make you go out of your way to watch films that you won't otherwise watch. Because this would have flew completely under the radar for me, and whilst I'm probably not going to be in a race to watch this film again, I'm not saying I wouldn't watch this film again. I say that now that I've experienced the story, it was a nice sort of little personal tale that I got swept up in. I really liked the character of Gracie and her brother Gilbert, and seeing I wanted to see how that story ended. I wanted to see where it ultimately led to. And I thought it was a nice, charming sort of slice of life kind of movie, I suppose. It does have a depressing tone to it, but by the end, there is that pang of hope. And that, you know, life will throw you curveball after curveball, but, you know, just keep going kind of thing. And I think there's a letter towards the end that Pinky writes to Grace. And I wish I'd have written the quote down verbatim, but she says, I'm paraphrasing here, but life is about the small moments that you remember fondly. And life's full of those moments. So as shit and as arduous as life can be, there will be those small little moments that you can look back on in years and remember fondly. And I was like, oh, that's a really, really nice outlook on it, I think, ultimately. So yeah, no, there was a lot I liked in this. I liked the animation, I liked the look of it, the voice acting worked for me. It had a quirky style. I liked the caricature like characters to this one. And yeah, I'd be interested to see what the director does after this one. Or maybe I could go back and watch some of his other stuff if it has a similar tone to this, because I don't know, the tone kind of works for me on this one. It's not the most amazing film I've ever seen in my life, but then again, I don't think it needed to be. I think it did exactly what it needed to. It told this sort of intimate little story, and I don't know.
Like
it kind of worked for me. It's kind of like what? Spam. You know? Oh,
yeah.
Is
It's not the most perfect thing, but it does its job. It feeds you.
Yeah.
Like, spam in a can.
Spam in a can. I don't think I've ever had spam. You know.
Me neither, to be fair. But I feel like it's not that nice, but it does its job. It feeds you, you know, when you ain't got much money. Mm-hmm. It's like this. It does its job, you know. It's nothing great. I'm sure there's better out there, and there definitely is, but, you know.
It's true. Let's see, we got some more comments here. Bath Time says, I've never platinumed anything. I'm not having programmers tell me how to play the game. That's fair enough.
There's always one fucking trophy that you're just like, how? Why? Like, you'll get a certain amount, but there's always one that you're just like, well, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, I remember Mafia, one of my favorite games, and they were all like, I did all of them except there was one which was completing it on hard mode, which you think, okay, that's probably one of the easier ones. But the hard mode was just ridiculous because there's a race in it that was ridiculously hard anyway. And then on hard mode, it's like your car blows up within like 2 hits. I'm like, how the fuck are you supposed to do that? And it's just stupid shit. And yeah, so I agree.
Yeah. Haynes says, I'm so glad this got in and not Moana 2. Yeah, I agree. I was actually really surprised. I mean, Disney technically have one in there through Pixar, Disney Pixar with Inside Out 2. But yeah, usually it's always Pixar and Disney animation studios get one. So yeah, no, I second that. I'm glad this one got him. Carl says, can I ask why you're boycotting some of the films? Yeah, no, totally. Number one, first and foremost, it's time. It's been difficult to even cram these 5 films in, let alone adding a further 10. My work schedule at the moment probably wouldn't permit that many films. And also, Amelia Perez. Why the fuck is that nominated? Well, I know why it's nominated. Have you seen bits from that film? It looks absolutely diabolical, shockingly shit, and is only nominated in there to tick boxes. And there is no reason on God's green earth, spoken from an atheist, that should be nominated at all. And to be honest, I've just been kind of on a downward spiral with the Oscars anyway. In all honesty, I think I didn't even watch it last year. I did watch the films for it last year, but I didn't watch the ceremony. The year before that, I was completely bored, senseless. It's just Hollywood, you know, all of these elites prattling on about shit that they have no reason to talk about, preaching to the masses from their ivory towers. And you've just seen how Hollywood's been going recently. Well, over the last 10 years or so. It's just been a complete fucking dumpster fire. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to give them the time of day. I'm not going to give them my viewership. I'm not going to play this game anymore. So now, are there some films in that list that I do want to see at some point? Absolutely. Wicked. We do have a plan to watch Wicked, and we're going to stick to our original plan for that now. We're going to do, this is announcing for like way later in the year. It's going to be the most heterosexual thing we've ever done on the channel. We're going to do a Wizard of Oz marathon. So we're going to do the original Wizard of Oz. We're going to do Return to Oz. We're going to do, oh God, Oz the Great and Powerful. I always forget the name of that one. Wicked Part 1, and then we'll get into our review for Wicked Part 2. So we do have a plan for that one. I already have a review up on the channel for doing Part 2. And the other one I really want to watch is The Substance, which is the Demi Moore body horror film, which looks fucking great. And I've heard amazing things. So I do want to check that out. And I might go back and watch some of the other ones periodically, but I was in no rush to sort of get it done for the Oscars this year, I must admit. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Carl. Carl says, I have one achievement to do, 100% Dark Souls, and the requirements are ridiculous. You have to finish the game 3 times.
That's one I hate, when you have to finish the game more than once to get it, because it's so, like, I mean, I don't know. It might be some people, like, you know when they have New Game Plus for games, and I think I've used New Game Plus for, I can't remember which games had it, but like, it's rare that I use it, because even if a game's great, you play it once and I'm like, cool, and I experience everything and I long it out. I look for all the items, everything. And then once I played it, I'm like, all right, cool. And I might come back to it again. But there's only a small handful I definitely have. So games you have to play it like 3 times, you're like, all right, okay, I've done it now. And you just feel like it's a slog, because it's telling you need to do it again. You're like, yeah, but I've done it twice now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I really hate that. It's like the difficulty ones. I hate when they don't stack. Like, if it's like you need to complete on easy, medium, and hard. If you complete it on hard, you should be rewarded with the easy and medium ones as well. Like, yeah. I hate when games don't stack. Kingdom Hearts did that at one point, but then when it was re-released on PS4, they stacked them. Mm. Yeah, and I thought that was fine, because it's like, if you've done it at hardest difficulty, why are you not rewarded for the other 2 as well? Because clearly you can do it. Mm. You shouldn't have to go back and play it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I hate that.
Yeah, same.
But the fact that it's Dark Souls, that says that's going to be fucking hard, right?
I know. Do that. My word. Try doing that on the hardest difficulty. Fucking hell. In regards to Emilia Perez, Bath Time says, I read the synopsis for it and it sounded like a Little Britain sketch. A mafia boss gets a sex change. I mean, what the fuck? Yeah. And it's a musical as well, and the music just looks completely fucking
Maybe they're trying to take on Joker too.
Yeah.
Because that did so well.
Yeah. That's a good point. There's a fucking song. Zoe Saldana comes in. I think she's like an inspector or something. And it just sounds like they're making up the song as they go along. There's no particular tune to it. She's like, I want to speak to the doctor. I want you to tell me about sex change operation. And he's like, man to woman or woman to man, from penis to vagina. And I thought, is this like South Park? Are we doing like a fucking parody shit now? And apparently no, it's meant to be, you know, take us seriously. We're so fucking progressive and Hollywood. And I'm like, I'm fucking done. I'm out of I'm not, absolutely not. There is no way that this film is deserving to be in the best picture. Taking out like all of the subject matter and whatnot, just the film itself looks fucking terrible. Like, just absolutely awful. The writing, the acting, the music, just everything about it is like, this has no place being in the best picture category. So I saw that and I was like, I'm out. I'm like, I am. And how long is that movie, by the way? Oh fuck yeah, 132 minutes. Ain't no way I'm sitting through 132 minutes of my life, my very limited free time that I have now to watch Emilia Perez. It ain't fucking happening. And even if I am, I ain't doing it sober. So yeah, I'm sorry, it ain't happening. Bath Time says, oh my god, are you going to dress up as Ariana Grande and the green one? Here's a question: you'd want to dress as Ariana Grande because she's like your baby mama. She is like your future waifu.
Hey, I would go as I would pretend to be the green one and have some weird love affair with her in my own head. That's what I would do.
Well, no, because my follow-up question is going to be, okay, if you're going to be the green one, does that mean you just put green paint straight on, or do you have to go in blackface first and then put the green makeup on afterwards?
It's a good point. That's a good point. You're like, under this makeup, I am black. And it's be all the colours. That is a very good point. To be fair, I think if I could wake up as anyone else, it'd be Ariana Grande, and I would do things in front of the mirror.
Have you ever seen Silence of the Lambs?
Yes.
You know, he's like, yes. Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me so hard. Like Buffalo Bill.
Exactly. It's the kind of world I live in my head.
Carl says, achievements are great, but it can make you start to hate a game you once enjoyed. Yeah, if it forces you to play it multiple times.
It's like learning, it's like playing a song though, isn't it? You write it and you're like, this is great, and then when you've played it over 100 times, you're like, I fucking hate this now.
You just imagine Bon Jovi on stage, like Living on a Prayer starts queuing up, you got that ambient synth, his eyes roll to the back of his head, just glaze over like, oh.
Yeah.
And probably Europe with Final Countdown, even though that is arguably probably in my top 3 songs of the 80s.
They're like, and we're going to do it again.
Yeah, it's always got to be that last song on the set. Always.
That'll be the thing when they retire, being like, oh, thank fuck, we'd have to play that again.
Yeah.
Woo!
Didn't you say there was a band you went to see and their most famous song that they have, they played at the beginning of the set?
The first time I saw Kiss, they didn't play Love Gun.
Oh.
And I was very surprised.
Yeah.
I was like, they came up for an encore and everything, and then they went back and I went, it's going to be a second encore now because they haven't played Love Gun. And then the lights came on and everyone was leaving. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And
so did you get to see them play Love Gun?
Yeah, because they played it the second time I saw them.
Oh, okay,
so
that's right. Yeah.
I did see them play it, but I remember that first time and everyone was leaving. I was like, did I black out or something? And I literally, when I went home, I was looking at the set list on the thing being like, did I just like forget something? And I was like, nope, they genuinely didn't play it. I was like, that was weird.
When I went to see Iron Maiden, it was the first ever gig I went to. It was in 2011, and it was the Final Frontier tour, so there's a lot of songs from that album. They did a lot of their greatest hits too. And of course, Iron Maiden have got a lot of really good songs, and they couldn't do all of them. But they didn't do Run to the Hills. And I thought...
That's weird though, isn't it?
That's like... I feel like that should be at every Iron Maiden concert, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, there's certain things that you're surprised.
They didn't let us Run to the Hills, and they didn't let us Play with Madness either. The 2 songs. But I'm seeing them this year, and it's meant to be all of their greatest hits from their good albums before they were turned into like a really shitty prog band. So I'm hoping I get those 2 songs that I really want.
I saw a video where Bon Jovi opened with Living on a Prayer, then played You Give Love a Bad Name, and I was like, what they have left?
Just leave. Yeah, you can just leave after that.
Everyone will be like, right, we're done now.
Yeah. Bath Time says, apparently there's a cover band called Mini Kiss with Dwarves.
I've seen that. It's brilliant. It's just amazing. Just the idea of it. But have you seen the best idea I think that everyone's ever had is Oakley Dokley. Have you seen that band?
I don't remember the band. I remember the old kids show I used to watch called Oakley Dokley or Okie
Doke. No, this is called Oakley Dokley because it is 4 members all dressed up as Ned Flanders playing death metal. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Jesus Christ. Oh, right. Final thoughts. I've kind of given my final thoughts already. So if you want to close that, Memoir of a Snail.
It was just long. It was just. I don't think it should have. No, it could have been a feature movie. It could have, but I think it should have been handled differently. Like my idea would be to have it said in like spoken poem. And each, like, there was like 5 or 6 poems spoken throughout the thing. It was half an hour shorter, so it was only an hour long, and each bit was like 6 kind of different poems. And like the first bit with their dad and him being alcoholic, that was a poem. And then, you know, with the whole, well, technically their mum dying and stuff, but you know what I mean? Like, that was a poem, and then about their parents, and then there'd be a poem where they went away. And I think that would have been more enjoyable. It would have been better paced, and I think I would have taken more notice of more bits, and it would have felt like nice little bits because it does work as a feature length. I think it'd be bad to say it doesn't, but yeah, I just think it should have been handled differently. And this movie would get away with that because it would work so well. It's this movie I don't think would be damaged from taking any more risks. I think it would just enhance it if anything. But yeah, I did think it was a bit long. That is my thing, and that's why I did feel myself in and out and in and out of it.
Yeah. But overall, would you recommend it if someone was curious about it?
I'd recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it to myself again. I think I'd be bored, but it did, the look, the style and everything, and especially if you don't know what it is, I'd say just watch it. I think it's an experience you'll come out of either really liking it or just coming out of it being a bit bored. That's the only thing. And it sounds harsh because I don't want to say it wasn't bad. I don't think it was bad. Honestly, I did come out of it quite it was a bit boring. It did drag, and that's my just overall thought, really.
Mm-hmm. I sort of fall in the category of I would recommend it if you like stop motion, if you feel something a bit different that's kind of against the mainstream. Maybe you've seen some of the director's earlier work, or maybe you're into that kind of gothic-y stop motion styles, such as a Tim Burton film or whatnot. I'd recommend it. I think it's a nice personal little story. I don't think it really garners sort of many rewatches or anything like that. As I say, I don't think I'm going to be rushing back to watch this film anytime soon, but I'm glad I watched it, and it was something a bit different, a bit of change of pace, which I'm sure our fifth and final animated film that we're reviewing for the Academy Awards is going to be. So our last one is a film called Flow, which is a Latvian animated film which has no dialogue in it. So there you go, no dialogue.
Do you know what? I'm very intrigued by that. I think it might. I mean, I don't know yet. But again, going in blind, I think it might just be a nice watch of just going, look at the pretty colors.
Mm-hmm. And apparently the animation was done entirely using the free and open source software Blender. So I actually just read the synopsis of the film because I didn't know anything about the film. So I quite like the sound of that. It sounds like it's environmental changes. The environment, nature is going to be a big theme in that film. So if it's done well, that's going to be our last one. We're going to be talking about that on Sunday, and that Sunday night into the early hours of Monday morning is going to be the night of the Oscars. I probably won't be doing a live stream for that this year because it's a very, very long ceremony, and considering I haven't watched all 10 of the films, there's not going to be really much to talk about. Even in the past when I have watched all 10 movies, there's never really all that much to talk about for the full duration of the 4 hours. So I'll probably have a community post on my YouTube page just saying which film won and whatnot, and we'll be talking about which one won at the Academy Awards. So far out of the 4 films that I've seen, and we'll sort of have a roundup conversation of this after we've watched Flow, I think the one that I'd give it to is The Wild Robot. I think that deserves to win at the moment still, after seeing this one. But we haven't seen Flow. Maybe that could change after we watch that. Bath Time says, no dialogue. I might watch that on Saturday night if I go out. Yeah, we'll probably be watching it.
But if you go out, then you won't watch it.
He'll probably just have it on his phone and just looks down occasionally.
Kind of like when you keep your missus at home locked in the cupboard. Check if she's okay.
Sure. It's exactly like that. It's exactly like that.
When you think about it, there's a possibility that one of us might not be alive by the next time we do the next video. So there is a possibility, isn't there?
Fuck.
You could show up and I could be dead, or vice versa. That could be a possibility. And if it happens, I will go to prison for either killing you if it happens that way because I predicted it, or everyone will think I killed myself. So realistically, we have to both survive now.
I mean, because I'm a stickler for OCD, even if that happens, can you just be like a darling and just keep your camera on so there's at least a camera screen on that side and it's not just one big one?
I'll do it. I'll put a drawing of something there.
Yeah.
Just something. Or you get like Grogu or something, and then it just moves every now and then.
You get
it interacts.
You just get a Grogu,
and he just interacts every now and then.
Yeah,
be great.
Bath Time says there's a possibility you're the only people alive right now.
Technically, that is, and you know how happy that would make me. I would be like, "Oh my fucking god, there's no one left. Thank fuck for that."
It's like I Am Legend.
Yeah, it would be great, but I would rather that happen after the Aussie gig because I kind of want to go.
Yeah, me too.
It cost me a lot of money. I want to go.
Yeah, fucking hell. And I paid more than you as well. Yours was already a lot, and I'm trying not to think about it.
And I think that will be the biggest thing we ever go to in our lifetime. So
after
that, everyone else can die and it's fine. And I'll do whatever.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be another gig that. There's probably going to be other gigs that I enjoy more than that one. But I think in terms of it being in an event of that size, yeah, I don't think we'll see another one like that in our lifetime.
Live Aid Part 2.
Yeah, but that'll just be for like fucking Taylor Swift will be there or some shit.
It's Metal Live Aid.
Yeah,
Metal Aid.
Metal Aid.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that'll do it for our review tonight. It's coming up to an hour now. So let us know your thoughts on Memoir of a Snail. If you've seen it, if you're looking forward to it, if you've seen any of the director stuff. I'd be interested to know what people think of this because, yeah, it's not one that's getting talked about all that much, and I think it's flying under the radar a little bit. Please do consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. As I mentioned, we'll be live again on Sunday discussing the next animated film that we need to talk about, which is Flow. After that, I've got a couple of ideas that I'm going to throw your way, Dale, for another potential retrospective. But we have got some pretty big, hefty retrospectives on the horizon, which I'm not going to announce just yet. I'll announce them closer to the time. But we're planning for shit in like 2026 as well. And it's all kind of fallen into place with dates of companies and whatnot. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going to be happening. I'm also trying to hail everything in Middle-earth because I'd love to do another video with him at some point. So, yeah, stuff and things are happening on the channel. And it'd be great if you guys could be a part of it. Appreciate all of you jumping on tonight and keeping the conversation going. It's always the same motley crew of people, and I absolutely love that. So thank you for keeping the comments coming in. And hopefully we can entertain you for an hour or so because we hit live and we just run our mouths, and hopefully some profound shit comes out every now and then. That and Dale's throwing some hand shapes right now. He's going.
But look,
I
am like the monster now. Look.
Oh my god, that's like one of those what do you call them? Like visual illusion things, you know, when you can like look at it and you can see like all the little black dots sort of dancing around everywhere.
Oh no, brilliant. Great.
That'll do it for us. We'll see you on Sunday. Take care, everyone.